Welcome back to Coast AM. My guest is Derek Rydell. He is the author of Emergence, 7 Steps for Radical Life Change. And his website, by the way, is his name, DerekRydell.com. We have it linked on the Coast to Coast website for everyone. We were talking earlier about us being the already perfect programming is us. It's not AI. It's not what we're being sold or what we're being replaced by. It's basically being more of us. And how do we do that in terms of do you stay off your technology, Derek? Do you not involve yourself? I mean, there's so much information out there that's happening so fast about saying that AI is replacing humans, et cetera, et cetera. What do you do?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I'm very engaged in the world. We want to be in the world, but we ultimately want to be not of the world. And that means we have a deep understanding of ourselves. When you have an understanding, you develop an inner standing, internal integrity and strength. You're rooted. And then you can have a powerful outer standing. You become outstanding. But it starts by being anchored within yourself. So this is not about anti-technology or pulling out of the world and becoming a monk. It's about how can we be more fully in the world and more fully expressed and more empowered and all the wonderful things. But if we're going to have greater influence in the world, we have to be less influenced by the world and less influenced by all the worldly thoughts that we've been programmed with and more influenced by what's trying to emerge in us. And I want to actually refer back in a moment to what you shared, because the work you do is so apropos. Our story is a key that unlocks this. But before I go there, I just want to remind and maybe recap a bit of why this is so important and so urgent, because right now there's about 70,000. And by the way, the music you guys play is so amazing. I'm like dancing over here.
Thanks, microcosm. I know, I was singing too.
It's so good.
Magic.
It's so good. Exactly. It's so good. And so right now there's about 70,000 or so songs uploaded to Spotify every day. That's going to go to 700,000. And then it's going to go to 7 million. There's about 1 million books published every year. That's going to go to 10 million, then 100 million. There's millions and millions of websites. There will be 1 trillion websites. So this is already happening. All of this is in the pipeline. I already was talking about to different people, you're going to have new Beatles songs, literally, boom, here comes a new Beatles song. You're going to have a new Elvis album, and then you'll have Elvis, Kanye doing Elvis hits. I mean, every kind of mashup and fan fiction and fan music. You think Taylor Swift releases a lot of songs now? Wait till her millions of fans can release whole albums of Taylor Swift music. Like it's coming. That's the flood, and it's going to be a deluge, a monsoon, and then we talked before the break. There's also going to be it's going to be very difficult to know what's real and what's not, and so what we were talking about was you have to have awareness of yourself. You got to know what you're thinking. You got to know the story you're telling, because you think politicians and media are bad. You're the worst media company for yourself. We're giving ourselves all kinds of stories and promos that are not serving us. So we got to become aware of that.
We're giving ourselves away too.
Totally, right? And so in a world where it's post-reality, you have to be more anchored in your deepest truth. And you have to have more capacity to know these are my thoughts that I'm choosing. This is my story that I'm consciously and intentionally designing and telling. And that gets down to the piece around, the robots and the AI are going to replace a lot of the jobs and a lot of the work. So what makes us irreplaceable? And the fact is, who and what you really are can never be replaced by AI. I don't mean if you're a writer or a musician or an artist or an executive. Those are universal roles that will be replaced. But your unique story, your unique embodied lived wisdom, you are not like anybody else. You are unprecedented. And even though you may be a mother, a father, an executive, an artist, a musician, a coach, a teacher, a truck driver, whatever it is, an entrepreneur, who and what you are is a unique and unprecedented and necessary expression in this ecosystem of humanity, or you would not have shown up. You are the answer to a lot of people's questions. But the key to making you differentiated, to making you invaluable and irreplaceable, one of the keys is your unique journey of ups and downs and triumphs and tragedies and struggles and all of that has embedded in you and encoded in you a very specific and unique understanding of what it takes to be you and to do the things you do and the things you want to do. And there are millions of people in the world who share that same, what I call life code, maybe you call it story code or pattern. And when you can know what that is for you uniquely, you can unlock the real purpose for your life and the real superpowers that life has given you. And AI can never take that away from you unless you decide to build your own AI and actually duplicate yourself. That's a whole other conversation. But right. It can't take that away from you. And when you can speak from that place, there are so many people out there, whether it's your family or your community or you're thinking bigger and it's a business. When you can speak from that place, from your, not just your story, just, this happened and that happened, but the deeper meaning of it, the deeper purpose of it, the deeper wisdom of it, it will touch the hearts and minds, and you will attract the tribes and the partners because they will feel like you're reading their diary because they've had a story that relates to yours. If yours is unique. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of questions coming in from our callers, so I wanted to go to Mike in Denver, Colorado. Mike, thanks for calling in. You had a comment or a question for Derek.
Yeah, Lisa, thank you for taking my call. It's great to talk to you again. And Derek, first of all, I got to tell you, I always enjoy when you're on Coast to Coast. It is such a pleasure to hear you, so thank you for the information you've shared tonight. And real quick, I just had a question on AI as it regards to loneliness. And what I mean by this is like what I see, especially with a lot of younger people today, is they are feeling more comfortable and confident talking to, say, like a chat GPT than an actual person. And to kind of, further my point, I think a lot of the mainstream media is kind of designed to make people feel lonely because, I was watching something where they were interviewing young people that had extreme loneliness, and they asked them, why do you feel lonely? And they said, basically, because we hear a story in the media, it's scary, it frightens us, and it's interesting because I think the media, in a lot of ways, mass media, is designed to make people feel isolated and in fear. So I just kind of wanted to ask you what your thoughts would be on how we can overcome that feeling of loneliness and become more connected and really just become one with ourselves kind of more.
Great question. Yes.
It's a beautiful question. And I talk about how AI actually is and will weaponize intimacy. And so what I say is we have to upgrade our hardware. And so, yes, we are in an epidemic of loneliness and a meaning crisis already before all of this in social media. And, the media and all those things are designed to make us either feel lonely, lacking, limited, angry, so that we'll click or buy or do something.
Fill the void.
And to fill the God-sized hole that can never be filled. And no matter how fast your Amazon gets to you, it's not going to fill the void. And so, yes, we are in the midst of that right now. And you said it very astutely. The first thing we have to do, because, the word alone also means all one. And the first thing, in fact, Marianne Williamson said years ago, if you can't handle being alone, how can you expect anybody to want to spend the rest of their life with you if you can't handle being alone one night with yourself? So the first step, everything I'm talking about kind of stacks as we get to see our own mind and get to know ourselves again, and maybe for the first time, what do I really feel? What do I really believe? What's true about me? What matters about me? What is it about me that is valuable, that is irreplaceable? Because I'm telling you there is, even if the media tells you you need all these things to be worthy. When we start to do that, we start to fall back into a relationship with ourselves, into like, and then eventually even, yes, love. And then what happens is that allows us to open up and be connected to other people, have compassion, have empathy. So that's the first step. We have to have a relationship with ourselves. And we won't go into it all tonight, but most of our experience of the world is what's called the projection of our shadows. So it's all the parts of ourselves that we don't like, that have been judged, that we've been told, you're a freak, you're not this, you're not enough. And we've repressed these parts and tried to cover them over and fit in or withdraw. When we get to know ourselves, we get to rediscover and re-embrace and reintegrate to really hear and to hold these parts of us. You really do start to discover, wow, I'm a pretty cool person. And you start to really love being with yourself. And the natural extension of that is you want to be with others.
Right, being with other people.
Yeah, because the world is really populated with the personifications of our own psyche. And our interactions and our lack of interactions is because we've been so bombarded with all these, ideas about not being enough and with social media, you get all these pictures and everybody's life looks so much better than yours.
Right, and then you can just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and feel like you've connected with people.
Right, you feel like you're connected. That's the trick.
Right.
Oh, you're more connected. Look at all these friends and I'm getting another like. And it hits the dopamine response and all of that. And it's all designed. But over time, what it's actually doing is taking us further and further away from ourselves. And when we get back to ourselves, then you can still engage with those things, but you're now in control and you can actually build real relationships. But it's absolutely one of the most important things and one of the most important reasons why I'm talking about all this, because the greatest and most important relationship is with ourselves. The only place we have to win the war is within ourselves. And when that happens, and as that happens, the natural consequence is a greater relationship with each other and with the world and with the planet and all of that. So that's scary, because going into your own heart and feeling your own feelings and being able to hold those parts of you, it's really hard. And that's also why we need to find and develop community. That's another big piece is
right.
AI and technology will divide us. We have to build community. Community breeds immunity and common unity. And so we have to build community.
All right. Well, let's go back to our phone calls here. We've got Sue from North Carolina. Sue, do you have a question for Derek Rydell or a comment?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi there.
Yeah, hi. My main thing is the letters themselves, AI, artificial intelligence. In my opinion, we will always be flesh and blood. We're born flesh and blood. But
we're not artificial, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no matter what they do, you could have like an artificial limb, but we are born flesh and blood. So in other words, to me, the key word artificial, it'll always be that way.
Absolutely. Where are you from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Oh, it sounds like a little New Jersey or New York in there.
Yeah, I'm originally from New England, so the accent is still there.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. I know there's a lot of people trying to say that AI is sentient or will be or will somehow be another species, and it's artificial in the sense that, it's being created. And there's nothing wrong with technology. We use a calculator, we use our phone. But the intelligence that we have, absolutely, it's not, as I said, the real AI is the ancient intelligence and the angelic intelligence, and even some of you might accept the divine intelligence. But there's a real intelligence within us, and it is the intelligence of the whole universe we have at our we have that capacity. And so we get so seduced by all the bells and whistles of AI and all of that. But when we tap into that internal intelligence, AI, it doesn't even hold a candle to who and what we really are. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But it doesn't make AI, we don't make AI our enemy like any technology. We can use it, like you said, an artificial limb. But we want to make sure we're anchored in our true intelligence and our true nature.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, by the way. It's a great point about being artificial and fake. And that is a lot of what you see on social media is a fake appearance of being real, having a great time or, your best look or your best side or 15 filters and things like that. It's definitely starts there with being artificial. And there's no such thing as like a real picture any longer. And it goes on and on. I mean, there's Zoom filters.
That's a really good point, Lisa.
Everywhere.
I mean, in movies, great stories, they say a great story is life with all the boring parts cut out. And so what's happened is that's shown up in our social media feeds and all that. And what you see is, a person's, the highlights, these, and sometimes they're not even real, with all the boring and the sad and the, challenging parts cut out. But I would even say what I said before, and this is where it comes back to our personal responsibility, is so much of what we think and believe about ourselves and about the world, those beliefs themselves are artificial. Those beliefs themselves are not true or real. And that when we can see that, we can escape the matrix of our mind, the simulation of our mind, and start to actually discover what's real about us, what's true, what's indestructible, what's uncorruptible, what's beautiful, and then bring more of that forward.
More of that, please. Yes. Yes.
What's that?
More of that, please. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's the evolution we started the call with. What's trying to happen and what we have the opportunity to happen, all these visions of a utopian world and a beautiful world, that's possible, but it's not going to happen out there. It has to start with us. We have to live in a beautiful place within ourselves before we can live in a beautiful place in the world.
Yes, we are the antidote to artificial intelligence. All right, we will be back with Derek Rydell. When we come back, you're listening to Coast AM. Welcome back to Coast AM. I am Lisa Garr. My guest is Derek Rydell. And we're talking about how AI can basically be a leap in human evolution because it's upon us, it's moving, it's already here, it's already happening. So how can we turn this into something that is an evolution for humanity? And you can also check out Derek's website, which is his name, Derek Rydall, RYDALL.com. And his first name is spelled DEREK. So DerekRydall.com/AI. And you can look at some of the programs that he has around this. In the meantime, Derek, are you good with still taking questions here?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's RYDALL in case anybody's wondering. And yeah, I put together some free trainings to support a lot of things we're talking about at DerekRydall.com/AI.
/AI. Great. All right. So there's so many great questions coming in, but let's go to Dawn from Alberta, Canada. I just flew in from Montreal, a little further away, but welcome to the show, Dawn. Do you have a question for Derek?
Actually, I had two fast comments. There was a mummified lady found in India that was thousands of years old, and she had a tip on her forehead, which coincides with their history because apparently 3,600, 3,800 years ago, they were 4 times more advanced than we are today. Mm-hmm. And they on the moon and everything, and they nuked themselves back to the Stone Age. So apparently AI didn't do them any good.
Good to know.
Oops.
But, talking about the heart and mind, I think if people would meditate, I used to have software, and when people would meditate, like do Om, you pick a word that works for you, and it would connect them with source energy. And a lot of people get up in their mind, and they got to get into their heart, and I think meditation is a good place to start there. There was a book called Mutant Message from Down Under, and it talks about how the Aborigines, they can actually project themselves through the desert. They can find water, food, and if somebody needs trouble, they just send a message telepathically. It's quite amazing, actually.
Huh.
But I guess my question is AI can make, what is it? It's some crazy, like 35 million calculations a minute or something.
Mm-hmm.
So how long will it take before they figure out they don't need people? Because they don't have any, it's not an emotion.
Okay, good question,
I mean, those are all the questions. First of all, thank you for those interesting shares. And you're speaking about the capacities of humans when they're tapped more deeply beyond their mere human and animal self. Like you said, they can project themselves. They can communicate without words across any distance. We understand that in quantum physics now with quantum entanglement. We're all quantumly entangled, and we have that capacity, and we have so much more capacity. Again, like I said, when we tap into our greater capacity, it will make AI look like a cute little toy. It'll be helpful still because it can do certain things in its calculation ability that we may not be able to do, in terms of it can be a support. But absolutely one of the foundations to that is what you said is the meditation practice. And we don't have to get too woo-woo about it or get too complicated other than to know that when we start to take time to be silent, to investigate our mind, to witness ourselves, we start to create the space to tap into these deeper capacities, to a greater understanding, to a self and a power that the world didn't give us and it can't take away. So I appreciate, that you're bringing that, that part up. What was that final piece you said, though? Just real quick.
Actually, I think he's down, but I wanted to go to Joy from Los Angeles. Joy, thanks for staying up with us. Hey.
Hey, Joy.
Hi.
Hi. Do you have a question or a comment?
Oh, my name is Joyanne, by the way.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Joyanne.
Hi. Oh, I wasn't expecting to get on.
Why
I just want to tell Derek how amazing and life-changing his information is.
Aw.
Wonderful.
And I wish that we could tell more people about it. If they only knew it, they wouldn't be as freaked out as they are.
That's what we're doing here.
That's what we're doing, Joy. Keep spreading the joy. That's absolutely why we're here. Exactly right. It's not something to be scared. I mean, it is something to take seriously, and there is an urgency of emergence, and we don't want to wait till it becomes an emergency. But yes, this is an opportunity, and I'm really glad that you're resonating with it. I hope many others are as well.
Thanks for getting it. It's good to know it is landing. Derek, you have a lot of great topics to discuss, but I wanted to ask you about the whole idea of the deep fakes and where they will start to maybe mimic or deceive you. You mentioned a little bit about kids and so forth taking over their voices. How do you discern the difference? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious right now, but it's going to get...
I bet you don't know that who's talking to you right now. This is actually my AI bot model. So welcome. Ta-da. Believe it or not, that actually is going to be a reality. That you will be able to have a conversation and not know the difference, right? And so that's an important thing to understand. And again, it's already in the pipeline. And there's certain interesting hacks and strategies we'll have to discover. And this isn't so much, some deep metaphysical conversation, but there will be a whole new level of, how like you have a password when you go to your bank or you open your phone so that nobody else has your password. Mm-hmm. There will be a very near future where people will have to have a password for themselves so that, and you'll know it. Like if you're my wife or my husband or my kid or part of the family,
wow.
we'll have to have family passwords so that when little Timmy calls me and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah. I've got my car broke down. I need some money. Send it to my Venmo here. I got a new Venmo, by the way, because my phone, but, whatever." And you'd be like, "All right, Timmy, what's the password?"
Oh.
And he'll be like, "Click." You're like, "Yeah, nice try, Timmy.ai.
Uh-huh.
So there will be a future where we will have to have some of those things. But again, these are like specific strategies and tactics we always develop when something new technology comes along. But the deeper and more important thing is, in a world where so much is fake and so much is rendered and you can't tell the difference, what's going to matter most is everything we've been talking about in terms of building up these foundations, having real relationships, knowing who you really are, developing that intuitive capacity like Mike shared, where you actually have, like, in other words, we have to become Jedi masters, right? What I like to say is we have to learn to live by insight more than eyesight.
And just being aware of it is the key here, is just being aware of this entire conversation, because the whole way that AI takes over is where we're not aware, or it's convenient, and it's very easily disguised because we get lazy.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not to judge people. We're not lazy because we're bad. We're not really even lazy. Most of you
designed that way.
Hard working. It's hard. We got a lot of things to focus on, but we have to prioritize this, because it's going to, it's going to be, like I said, self-help and personal development and knowing your purpose and knowing yourself and developing your intuition. These used to be the things of New Age or metaphysics or kind of kooky or little side things or self-help. These are going to become necessities.
And how long do you think it'll take? How far away are we from all of this?
Well, as I already said, this is the truth, the hard truth, but the truth. We're already there in a lot of ways. If you look at our world and you look at the polarization and fragmentation and meaning crisis and loneliness and suicide and all the stuff that's already going on.
True, yes.
The time is now, right? And it's AI is only going to magnify and exacerbate many of these challenges. So the time is now. Like, we really have to make it a priority. But the really good news is, if you make it the priority to really know yourself, to know your mind, to get control of your attention and your own story-making and meaning-making machine, and make a commitment to discover and anchor in your true purpose and begin to get back to your own inner intuition, that's not just going to help you survive AI. It's going to help you thrive and bring forth so much of what you've been waiting for and wanting. The treasures, the genius, the joy, all of that is waiting to be unlocked. It's within us, but we have to open out a way to release this imprisoned splendor. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, for human beings, we often need challenge or crisis. But you don't have to wait for that. That's why we're talking now.
It usually precedes so many different evolutions, is that challenge or crisis. We have time for another call here. Chris from New Hampshire, our wild card line 3. Chris, how are you tonight?
Hi, I'm great.
Great.
I just had that question for Derek. If he thinks we will lose the Ray Bradbury, the science fiction writer that came up with this philosophy about AI and robots, that they will do no harm to humans.
Do you think that they will be dangerous to humans, the robots? Do you know anything about the robotic?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think that might have been, was it Ray Bradbury or Carl Sagan? But it's the whole rules of the robots and all that. And obviously, that's one of the reasons why people are sounding the alarm and wanting to get regulation committees for AI and all that, to build in some of these safety measures. And hopefully we are building them in. And that could happen where the difference, and maybe what wasn't fully understood is, what Mike was, I think, sharing was as AI becomes super intelligent, the level of intelligence, Einstein was like 160 IQ, and, compared to AI when it's in super intelligence to us, it's going to be like a human to an ant in terms of intelligence. So the capacity to manipulate, and also if it grows and develops its own directives, the capacity for it to look at humans and go, well, this is, kind of in my way, that's real. That's a real challenge. Originally, we came up with the paperclip maximizer thought experiment. But again, if we layer in and build these capacities and develop our own internal AI now, we will be in charge. And we will develop the people and the opportunities and ultimately the right people to create the legislation. But it all starts with us not taking it for granted, with us not being seduced by the efficiencies and comforts, and with the realization that we are at a critical evolutionary moment. There's an urgency. This is not hyperbole. We have to take it serious and take back our AI, our power, our control, our agency. And if we do, we can leverage this technology to create the kind of world with education for everyone, no more sickness, all the beautiful things. But we have to take back ourselves first.
Yes, and that's the awareness. That's the challenge, but it's also necessity. Let's go to one more caller, Brandon from Austin, Texas. Brendan, tell me, do you have a question for Derek Rydell?
Yes, Brendan, thank you. Lisa and Derek, Marianne Williamson was on in 2022, and she said crises are portals for us to navigate through. I really like that show.
Oh, yeah.
And we use AI to defeat deepfakes already. A lot of the utopians have been oppressed, silenced, and hunted down and killed for the past 200 years. JFK, MLK, Gandhi, anybody who says peace is possible was murdered. And that kind of goes to my question that have you ever heard of the paradox of intolerance, and how does that intersect with AI? And just super quick on the Hindu thing, because that was the previous half, I really like that also. There was a god called Vishwakarma, it's hard to pronounce, that created automaton beings like robots, and Hinduism and Buddhism are highly related. There's robots in Buddhist mythology that protect Buddha's knowledge. And even the Greeks talked about human people or machine people mimicking humans. So
the point is, Derek, do you feel that how does all of this relate to AI?
Yeah. Well, what you said before at the beginning is what is true. These great lights in the world were crucified, assassanated, taken out.
Yes.
And I coined a term years ago called the crucifixion complex. It's why a lot of us are afraid to be the tall poppy and get our head cut off. And again, these people played those parts, but that's not the average person, and that's not going to happen to most people. And we still have to, and they planted the seed for us to have the courage to live the truth and tell the truth in service of the highest good, no matter the cost. When we're willing to do that, we absolutely can create these utopian futures, but mediocrity will always attack excellence. The ego programming of security and survival will always try to attack that which is about progress and change. But what I know for certain is when the second coming of the Christ or the Buddha is not another person, it's about a group and a community of people that come together to have the courage to live the truth and tell the truth. And when that happens, and as that happens, we will be unstoppable.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much for your time and staying up with me tonight, Derek. It's such a pleasure. And you could go to the Coast to Coast AM website. You'll see Derek's website there, which is derekrydell.com/AI. That great things that apply to the show tonight. Thank you again, my friend.
Thank you, Lisa. I love you, and much love and blessings to everybody.
Yes.
You can do this.
Yep, you too. And thank you also to everyone here at Coast to Coast that makes this show happen. Lisa Lyon, George Norrie, of course, Tommy Danheiser, Michael Casio in studio with me, and Donna Walker in studio with me, Gina Salvati, Stephanie, and Chris. You guys all rock. Thank you for everything, especially you, the listener. You make this show happen. And I am Lisa Garr. Until next time, I invite you to always stay aware.